And nobody's talking about that. That's the crazy thing. Everybody's talking about, oh, voice AI, voice AI. You wouldn't have voice AI without having an intelligent edge and a secure network and a robust network to process it. Because that's the thing about large language models. As good as the voice agents are getting every day, if there's any latency, if there's a pause, or if there's a disruption in the communication, or if there's background noise, it completely throws the agent off. I mean, I've noticed it all the time. Nobody talks about that.
Welcome back to the show. This week we are talking about AI in the operator network. We talked to Adnon, who takes us through what Pure IP are doing with AI at the operator level, what that means for customers, how they can leverage AI in the carrier network, work across different UCaaS vendors across different solutions, and how that works with their line of business solutions and also their UCaaS and their contact center. Really interesting conversation with Adnon. Many thanks for him for jumping on, and also many thanks to Pure IP for all their support of the community. On with the show. Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. Really excited to have this conversation. Adnon's been talking to me a lot behind the scenes about what we've been doing at Pure IP with AI, but this is a chance to get some of it on the record. We'll see how much we can get out of you, Adnon. But do you just want to start off by introducing yourself and your role?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for having me, Tom. Adnon Dow, I'm the Chief Strategy and Product Officer for BCM. I've been with them now almost a year in August coming up. So I'm responsible for our strategy, our go-to-market, and really innovation and how we are transforming and pivoting to address the trends that are happening today across the industry with AI, network infrastructure, and some of the services around communications, collaboration, and data services, which are our core services that we offer.
Awesome. And for a bit of history for people, you've got a history at some pretty big players, including Bandwidth before this.
Yeah, absolutely. Gosh, been in the industry for longer than I want to admit. As you can see my gray hairs, but ex-Cisco, Motorola, where I've done networking, infrastructure, satellite, cellular, and then in the last 10 years, been heavily involved on the voice communications and collaboration. Most recently, Sandy and I both, our CEO, worked at Bandwidth. Doing very similar things in terms of helping wholesalers there and aggregators set up their networks to address communication and collaboration services.
Awesome. And this is going to be fun because I spend a lot of time obviously talking to different operators and people in the industry. And there's kind of a greater or lesser acceptance that AI is going to have a material impact and the way people are working is changing. And I feel like you're on the side of, yes, it's definitely going to have an impact and we need to do something about it. But maybe you can give me your take on our space and AI's impact over the last few years.
You know, gosh, it seems like almost every company that whether they release their earnings or making some sort of media release of anything they're doing, it all has to do with AI. And I say this often to my wife when we're kind of sitting around talking, when she tries to ask me what I do, because she's still trying to figure it out. You know, she asks me these questions, and a lot of them really don't understand what AI is and what it's actually doing. But there's multiple layers. The first layer that you're seeing, at least in our industry, and a lot of others as well, is they're using AI to better monitor, analyze, and control and manage the core network infrastructure that they depend on, whether it's an enterprise or a carrier. They're using AI because AI is much more effective. It's on 24/7. It follows instructions very well, especially if it's structured machine learning, anomaly detection type of instructions to manage and monitor the efficacy and the throughput of the networks. So you see that at the base layer of a lot of these infrastructures. The second is really around looking at databases and making sure that through algorithms and different processes that those databases are most utilized and available depending on the constituency that it's going to serve. So for example, if I'm a salesperson, how can I extract all the data out of my CRM, make sense of it, and be able to visualize it so I can make business decisions to drive outcomes? And then the third one, which we see heavily, is creating AI to enable your service offerings in the market to make them much more applicable to the industries that you're serving. So for example, recording, transcription, voice intelligence to be able to route calls and deterministically be able to guide those calls to access the most important information and be able to be compliant based on the industries that you're serving. So those are really the three layers. And depending on how you go about it, different companies are doing different things. We're dealing with all three layers as we innovate, we rationalize, optimize, and really roll out the next generation, what I call the intelligent edge for communications and collaboration across the distributed enterprise, is that the market that we're really going after to serve.
Nice. I want to dig into that. But first, interesting kind of, there's a theme through those three areas. And it's a lot of, we had access to the data before, but we didn't really have the capacity to make use of it. So in operations, us running a global network, there's loads of logging, loads of data, but you've only got so much time to make sense of it. So that's where AI comes in. And then on the usage side, scenarios of like data in the CRM or line of business apps and things, same thing, like recordings. We could always have the data, but it feels like there's a big turning point here where we can actually use that and turn it into business value rather than just data.
No, absolutely. And, for us, let's talk about services. When you look at the traditional carriers and the service providers, what they're doing out in the market, it's all over the top type of offerings. What that really means is they're providing their data and voice infrastructure for nothing more than transport. So the SBCs on the voice network will receive the calls, will set up the sessions and processes, and it's really about minutes and sessions and the number of sessions and the amount of time that you're on there. And that's how really they make their traffic. Some of them kind of over the top will then lay on applications, but those applications are usually delivered on the far end of that particular delivery of that call. So for example, call recording or some sort of voice bots or some sort of embedded capability around voice paths and SIP prioritization based on their services, whether it's a contact center or a UC platform. So it's really about capturing calls and delivering calls based on just reliability and throughput. And what you're seeing in the next generation type of smart, intelligent infrastructure is where it's really coming in to a deterministic type of approach where decisions are being made, calls are being routed, recordings, transcription, sentiment analysis, fraud detection, all types of services from a voice intelligence is enriched at the edge when that call comes in. So you're delivering an outcome and a service to the end user through open APIs, through session layers, and through those capabilities that are integrated into the intelligent edge. And this is the difference between the traditional industry approach to the next generation, what I believe is the intelligent SIP edge approach that we're taking and how we're pivoting to service, everything from SIP trunking to the UCaaS platforms, to the CCaaS platforms, to the mobile voice, the SIP-based voice that's coming across, WebRTC, name it. All of those have one common denominator. People want to communicate, and they want to communicate with the utmost intelligence for that call path. And that's really what we're trying to define and what we're building.
And that's quite an important thing there, the at the edge thing, because you could hear another podcast where a carrier will talk about AI, but what they really mean is we deliver calls to Teams, Webex, Zoom, name your UCaaS, we deliver calls to contact center, and the contact center vendor then picks up and does clever stuff. But what you're saying here is we're baking that into our network through the core to the edge and giving that kind of as a menu of options to customers. So, and it is kind of not an either or, it could be better together. It could be combinations of things, but we're doing it on our network and it can be agnostic of whether it turns up at a classic PBX, UCaaS, a contact center, or any combination of those.
Absolutely. You hit it on the button. And I would break it down into that call journey. You have the originating call. It hits the access network. And that originating call could be all those things you mentioned, everything from a desk phone down to some sort of AI agent or client. It goes to the access network, whether it's an SD-WAN network, whether it's a direct connection, whether it's SIP. It hits the SIP trunks. And from there, it's routed through the network. And then it hits an intelligent front end. And that front end, where we're leveraging our investments is around a front end based on AI, our voice intelligent AI capability, where it's deterministically trying to put intelligence on the front end to be able to look at the context of the call, the enrichment and how it can be enriched, and then routed and orchestrated across the multiple capabilities that sit on the back end that are native in our infrastructure and create intelligent routing policy all the way across. So SIP normalization, least cost routing, tenant policies, numbering plans, and anything that may be implemented. And then you hit the services. Those are the media services, the streaming, the recording, the transcription, all that being done natively. Fraud detection, for example, the call scoring, right? Everything from stir shaken all the way out to the challenges that you see with a lot of these failed fraud controlled calls and risk scoring on the validity of that call and that caller's ID number. And then once it goes through that cleansing process, we're delivering it as a service, as an outcome. And this is where it's different. And then we're observing that entire quality of that call. So then on top of it, we're putting observability. So we're looking at the mean score, the MOS score, the lack of latency, the quality of service all the way through. Because as you know, you could drop a packet when you're sending an email and it'll reassemble it and send it. And when you get that email, you don't know, was there a packet dropped or not? You're either going to get the email or you're not. You can't do that with voice. Even with AI and you're using it, the little bit of latency will impact how that AI agent is working. And it'll certainly, impact that conversation. For example, you and I are talking, what if I drop every other word? That's what it'll sound like. And so this is why it's all done natively rather than over the top, and we pass it through as a dumb call on a SIP trunk and hand it off to a PBX or a UCAS platform or a CCAS platform. And then that intelligence is then put on top of that platform. That's where we say over the top. And that's the difference between this next generation of that intelligent edge capability versus the traditional way that some of these carriers are doing it.
Nice. And if I was listening to this, I'd be like, well, so a pure IP building their own LLMs, writing their own recorder, like doing their own data intelligence. Like how do we build, manage, and optimize those services for customers?
A great question. So look, nowadays, why build it when you can partner or buy? Okay, there's just so many great companies out there that are doing a lot of these things. What we've done, Tom, is we've built an enterprise service bus, a middle layer, that sits, if you can imagine the 3-layered kind of network architecture, you get our core network, our global core data routed network with the voice SIP edges, the intelligent SIP edge. On top of that lays a microservices-based, containerized-based enterprise service bus, our integration layer. And northbound, when we integrate with best-of-breed, best-in-class providers, whether it's recording, whether it's analytics, whether it's fraud detection, whether it's a UCAS or a CCAS, we power those and we end up integrating with them. And then we bring them into the core network as opposed to just passing the call through and handing it off, let's say, to a Genesys or a Teams client. We enrich that data all the way through because we've integrated down at that enterprise service bus, and we're enriching that data and we're contextually providing deterministic routing based on the services that customer has subscribed to. And then we pass that call and that capability all the way through. So we don't build everything from the ground up. We've got the core network. We've got that integration service bus. There's some services that we build, others we augment, and we're always trying to take advantage of the latest and greatest. And by being able to plug those in through open APIs, connectors, SDKs, we're able to enrich that data and be able to provide everything from real-time control to intelligent front end to voice services and analytics, all out to trust, security, and compliance in terms of ensuring those calls are not fraud calls and that there's policy and governance in terms of being able to send that call through and record, for example, like in healthcare or finance, so that they're compliant in the way that they're receiving and positioning inbound or outbound calls.
That's good to understand, because it's like there's lots of options out there. I know you and the team spend a lot of time assessing different options and working with our customers and working out what the kind of the right portfolio of options are. And I guess from a customer point of view, we've assessed, chosen and backed that outcome with that particular platform or provider.
Yeah, listen, I call it outcome as a service at the end of the day. I mean, what are you trying to accomplish, right? As a customer, we pride ourselves on constantly seeking to meet the customers where they are rather than have them come meet us where we are. And it's not about a rip and replace. It's about really looking at where they're going, providing a migration strategy, enriching their data, and providing them solutions to the business challenges that they're trying to overcome. That's really what it's about at the end of the day. So it's not like we're selling a service or we're trying to say rip and replace and our service is better than somebody else's. It's all about how we implement these technologies and how we take the customer on this journey of migrating from a traditional voice routed infrastructure to the more advanced next generation SIP edge, where we're embedding a lot of these services and delivering an outcome to the end user. And that's where I think it's different than what you're seeing in the market today.
And how would Pure IP get the relevant data to the customers? Like, it makes sense, things like fraud detection as a service with AI, like the carriers taking the workload there and delivering the right call or the right flags to the SPC. When it comes to like call insights or summaries or anything like that, how are we getting that data to the customer's CRM or the customer's line of business app?
Yeah, that's a really good point there. And some of the things that that we've implemented are LCR and LRN infrastructure networks that we're managing internally. So for our least cost routing platform and our location routing capability, our LRN routing engine, we're able to take and ingest the calls coming in. And we do one of two things. We either dip a third-party database to do a lookup, and we look at and validate that number, the authenticity of that number. If there's a fraud in that reported number, we cleanse it in that ecosystem that we belong to. We implement the policy and the routing based on what we see, either LCR based on cost routing or LRN based on location, and deterministically what kind of call is coming in. We score it, and in real time, it's dipping third-party databases to check it based on the trusted ecosystem. And then we route it based on that response. So it's not just our data. We're partnering with leaders in the market where we are going in and we are looking at and looking up that data in the infrastructure. We're looking at all of that capability in terms of the background information on that caller's number. And based on that, we are routing it to the end customer to deliver a cleansed call, if you will, once we've looked at location routing number and we've looked at that routing hops, how many hops based on the cost that's coming through. And different customers will apply for different things, right? Some may want, hey, I just want a least cost, I want a rate. Others just say, listen, like call it, a hospitality, a hotel chain, where they want to make sure that when they're calling, or the customer's calling them, that is not a fraud call and it's not blocked. And that reputation scoring comes through. And that's where you really create that trusted ecosystem and be able to leverage other databases to where you're cleansing that information as you pass the call through.
Yeah, the fraud one is really interesting because it's like AI is the solution and AI is the problem in this case, which is that we're seeing a big uptick in, robocalls and customized AI and fraud because the AI enables the bad actors in so many ways. So actually it's more important than ever before because all that stuff is going through the roof and will continue to as these voice agents and get better and better, I think.
Man, this is the thing about voice AI. It's becoming so sophisticated that, I think there are going to be new technologies that are going to evolve every day. And as new technologies evolve, then obviously there's going to be bad actors and there's going to be impacts in the network that will then give challenges and arise to changing the way these calls are being processed. And we're seeing that now. I mean, a lot of these robocalling and a lot of these calls that are coming in that impersonate, deep fakes, it's becoming harder and harder. So the only way is to partner with the best of breed, best in class companies so that you enhance your capability, because nobody out there is going to create everything. They can try, but they're never going to be the expert at everything. And there are a lot of companies that are the experts in that. And that's what we have done. And so that is why we have leveraged LCR capabilities, which is a traditional way to route based on cost and the least cost route that's out there. And then we've moved over to LRNs, where we've got NNIs and peering agreements with some of the top carriers, so that when our numbers come across, they know it's coming across from us. There's not multiple hops, and they know where that originating number is coming from. We are the numbering authority, so they know it's a trusted number. And then we minimize those fraud calls. We put a high score on it. So when it's delivered, it's got a high availability. It's got real-time analytics that it is a trusted number and it's processed through. And today, AI is through the RMD right now that's going on, which is the robocall and mitigating database here in the U.S. in North America. If you get on that list with the FCC, it blocks you and you got to take them out of service. And these are the people that are doing, robocalling, and they've got AI doing it. And the only way to get out of that is in order to implement your own LRNs and create these trusted networks. And that's another one of those phases that we're creating on the edge. It's that next generation deterministic call routing policy that you're implementing based on that outcome that customer is looking to acquire.
Nice. And I know we've got a different conversation coming up to talk about voice agents in more detail, but I just wanted to get your quick take as we wrap up on where voice agents are, where the value is, and what we're looking at in terms of bringing that into the platform and the intelligent edge.
Look, for me, I look at it in three different paths. First of all, if you look at the omni-channel and where communications are coming in from, you're looking at voice, you're looking at SMS, you're looking at chat, email, UCaaS, CCaaS platforms, PBXs, SIP PBXs, or WebRTC, for example, and then you're looking at mobile phones. So you've got communications that are coming through either through open APIs, which are a lot of these agents, or you're looking at some sort of SIP type of signaling that comes through. And the first place that it hits your edge voice network. And from that edge network, you got to apply the security. You got to figure out, okay, so is this a legit call? Number one. Number two, you got to make sure it's secure as it goes through your network. Number three, you got to look at the routing policy. Where is it going? What kind of services? And then you got to anchor that media. Is it a recording? Is it a transcription? Is it just a plain phone call? And you got to make sure there's high availability and you're monitoring that entire quality of the call. And then, so there's services that you put on top of that, which are all the policies and analytics, everything from quality monitoring, the CDR analytics, so you're enriching now the data, the tenant and policy management, the location, DLR location for 911, 112, and the compliance enforcement. So that's what we're doing there on the edge to enrich that data. Then on the outbound, it's either going to be a live voice call, so it's just going to go right to the end device, or it's going to be a recorded path. So this is where you get your recording, the secure storage, the search and replay, the retention of the data from a compliance standpoint. How long do you hold it? So the legal requirements there. And then you start getting into agentic AI, which is kind of the third path, where you're looking at, once you anchor that media, you're going to look for a deterministic outcome. So everything from understanding the intent of the caller, making sure that you're transcribing, you're summarizing what they're saying. You're looking at sentiment analysis, scoring, and compliance. It becomes a multimodal insight in where they're coming in, what are the workflows and the automation that they want. And then you have to look at agent assist, where the questions and answers that come in, and someone like me could be asking, hey, can I get a hold of my bill? What's the last payment I made? And you're actually in speech to speech, going back and forth with an agent, and you're using multiple RAG models and agentics models on the back end to be able to retrieve information and answer those questions. All of those things, Tom, all of those things can't afford latency. They have to be secure. You have to make sure that it's not a fraud call, because a lot of it are deep fakes, right? And you're analyzing, recording, and transcribing so that in real time, either through the call or once that call is done, the actual customer can look at these things. And if there's anything flagged, they can go in and retrieve that data, because we're housing it and we're holding it and retaining it. And we're providing a search and replay based on contextual words, based on statements that are made, words that are said throughout that whole conversation. So this is the checks and balance and the intelligence that you're seeing, everything from just a regular voice call that takes a live voice path all the way to the multimodal, what I would say multimodal AI and agentics AI workflow enabled work stream. It's a very, very, very complex and a very different path than a regular voice path. And that's where you're seeing things go, especially with AI.
Yeah, no, super interesting. I think I like how you kind of paired there. Like, there's a lot of exciting things going on in the voice agent world, but if you want voice agents, you're going to need to potentially have recordings of those sessions, make people know it's AI, treat the data in the right way, do those database steps. So it's a really interesting time there, but you need the fundamentals of the network and the latency and the control and the security, and then the recording before you necessarily get to being clever with the AI agentic stuff.
And nobody's talking about that. That's the crazy thing. Everybody's talking about, oh, voice AI, voice AI. You wouldn't have voice AI without having an intelligent edge and a secure network and a robust network to process it. Because that's the thing about large language models. As good as the voice agents are getting every day, if there's any latency, I think you've been on an AI agent call before where you've called and you've spoken to an AI agent. If there's a pause or if there's a disruption in the communication or if there's background noise, it completely throws the agent off. I mean, I've noticed it all the time. Nobody talks about that.
Yeah.
Right? Even our own agents, when we first started rolling them out, if you stutter or if you said a word or if there's background noise, it automatically throws that agent off. And then all of a sudden it doesn't know what you're saying, or it takes some sort of hallucination and comes back with information that wasn't really asked for, over and above or completely aside from what you've asked for. And so this is one of the things that we're really working on, and things are moving from just regular voice AI, which has been the big hype, and it's moving in agentics because people want workflows. They want deterministic outcomes.
You said outcomes, and outcomes is really interesting in AI as well, because there's a lot of different options and potential costs and things. So going with an outcome model is really interesting because it kind of puts skin in the game on both sides of the fence.
Yep. To me, that's what it's all about, right?
Awesome. Well, Adnon, thanks for catching us up on all that. If people want to find out more about the intelligent edge and the stuff Pure IP are doing, where can they find out more?
Yeah, so listen, they can go to our website and look at all the capabilities. There'll be guides there. There'll be instructions on where to go. We're offering it across our multiple segments. And obviously, we're releasing a lot of Webex sessions where we're talking about it and informing people. But yeah, you just stay tuned. There'll be a lot more coming out as we develop it and as we release the different capabilities with our AI products.
Awesome. Well, Adnon, thanks for catching us up, and look forward to talking again soon.
Thank you very much, Tom. I appreciate your time.